I do not have an apartment, Jim, and never have had an apartment. We are, at this time, paying the expenses of Jack Gaubert, who is our executive director, on a temporary basis. We're paying his expenses, which was a part of a deal that we made with him when we hired him to be our executive director. And we put the pencil to it, and he indicated to me that it'd be much cheaper for him to rent an apartment to live in Austin for a month or so until he could get his family moved, until he could sell his house, than it would be to rent a motel on a day-to-day basis. As I say, this was part of the deal that we made with Jack, just like if WFAA was to ship you to Austin and ask you to move down there, they would pay you expenses for a month or so or for some reasonable length of time until you get moved, and that's exactly what we're doing. And I have no apology to make for it because this is a business deal. Mr. Bullock knows it's a business deal, and he called me and said if I would support the governor, he'd get off my back. And so this is just another trumped-up deal. He naturally campaigns from your taxpayers' dollars. He sits in his office and campaigns daily. Well, this is the first time I've seen this. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't even know Mr. A.E. Massey, never heard of him. But I think this is another scheme, and my opponent's weak way of doing things. Just like last week, he charged that we were paving driveways with county funds and using county employees and county materials. And then after he makes his wild charges, well, then he comes charging back and said, "Oh, I made a mistake. I really didn't know what I was talking about." So here again, just a political enemy. And it's been rumored that my opponent, especially Mr. Reed, may need some psychiatric treatments, and I believe that the people of Dallas County is going to understand his weakness and maybe let him pursue this treatment all the way instead of being elected county commissioner, because this is a wild man talk.
All right, were you an owner of this insurance company while you were the mayor?
I was not an owner of the DeSoto Insurance Agency while I was mayor. And as a matter of fact, I am not right now.
Did you, get rid of it, sell whatever
it's
stock?
It's a corporation, and I sold my stock.
In all these many, many months and years, this is the first time that the federal government has recognized a problem in Dallas County. Then, of course, if they are sincere and want to set it up on a business-like basis, it's going to be a great help to the taxpayer because they'll eliminate the waste. Everybody.
We have to make our request to the Dallas Public Transit Board, and we have our letter in, and at the next meeting we hope for action on it.
Do you feel the action will be favorable?
Yes, we do. The management has put out a bulletin stating that since the firemen and policemen have received their dues check off, that they will act favorably on our request.
Then you anticipate no problems in getting the same treatment?
No problems at all.
We're going to ask the City Council to name a committee so that we can go forth and make a real serious bid at getting this national hockey franchise in here. So this is really the thing that gave rise to the whole idea.
How much would it cost, and where would the money come from?
Now, that is what the council committee, acting in unison with a committee from the Sports Commission and with the city manager's office, will dig out in this study, a feasibility study, and I imagine in a matter of 2 or 3 weeks we'll have something definite by way of location, possible location, and cost. It's my feeling, right off the top of my head, that Fair Park would be an ideal location for it. The land is there, the parking is there, the accessibility to downtown Dallas and other parts of Dallas is excellent, and I would think that this would be the #1 place, but this will be determined after we get through looking at other spots.
The wind was out of the north. It was cloudy. The water was rough. And it was cold. So guides Gary Montgomery and Eddie Rainey took us where the natives go when they're not biting any place else on Toledo Bend, fishing in the bottoms off the Palo Gaucho Bayou.
Well, they're not. VISTA was funded at the exact amount as in previous years, and they have gotten adequate support, but because of overspending in some areas, we did have to limit their on-the-job transportation during the month of April. This will be restored in May to a certain extent.
Do you think Nixon is phasing out Johnson's war on poverty programs?
No, I don't think he's phasing out the war on poverty programs. I think that they may be trying to give them more direction. I think some actions have been taken to make them more efficient. And the one thing right now that has taken place that really precipitated this meeting was that we had some people transferred to Washington, D.C. These people are going to go on what is called a Federal Assistance Review Panel. The purpose of this panel is to make an agency such as ours more responsive to the needs of the people.
So do you see some political plot to get rid of you?
I don't believe the Nixon administration is committed to anything as controversial as poverty-oriented as VISTA. And the wind down on the war on poverty has been coming since Nixon has taken over. I think it's a trend. I think it's the political move of a Republican administration that is not as concerned as, say, the Johnson years or the Kennedy years were.
One of the most infamous gunslingers of the Old West was finally laid to rest in Dallas today, only about 100 years after his death. The first historical wax museum in Texas officially closed its doors at 6 p.m. last night, and with them went 114 wax figures from the past and present. Jesse James and his notorious friends were the first to be carefully packed for their move to a new location, near the Dallas-Fort Worth Turnpike in Grand Prairie. The Southwestern Historical Wax Museum has been in Fair Park for 9 years, but because of limited space and settings, the lifelike figures are being moved to a new building. Wax hands costing approximately $450 each, and heads which bear surgical glass eyes and false teeth were dismantled. One of the first motor-driven hearses from the early 20s, which can be revved up at speeds of 30 miles per hour, and the original car used in the movie Bonnie and Clyde, are being moved on flatbed trucks to the new location. The figures are carefully researched for portrayed characters' body build and eye color. Their clothes are often originals or exact replicas, but before May 15th, they will all be cleaned and redraped. Then, according to the museum's manager, Homer Gay, an artist will precisely brush them with dust to give them that aged look. These wax figures are not as fragile as they might appear. 120 degrees is the melting point. But all figures ranging from Belle Starr to Lyndon Baines Johnson as he was being sworn in for the presidency will be reassembled once more on May 15th in their new location. This is Donna Witkowski for Channel 8 News on the Move.
especially during the late afternoon and evening hours when predominantly school children are using the library. The seating space is either at a premium or non-existent. The library, for this reason, is an extremely important adjunct to our educational system. If the city of Fort Worth does not purchase the system, then we will not have public transportation for Fort Worth. I believe you will agree with me that the defeat of either of these issues will seriously damage Fort Worth's future opportunities for progress.
Lead is a biologically unnecessary element which is extremely toxic for humans and for other animals. Lead poisoning affects the brain and nervous system, bone marrow, and gastrointestinal tract. Signs and symptoms of lead poisoning usually disappear when lead exposure ceases and appropriate therapy is administered, but permanent sequelae, particularly mental retardation, may result.
Restrictions on lead analogs would be costly to the motoring public. A danger of damage to existing cars on the roads would exist if these cars were to operate on unleaded fuel. It has been clearly established that there is not danger to the public health from the use of lead analog compounds.
inevitably a deleterious one. In fact, in some cases, it has a very substantial effect on the negative thinking of people and as far as their investments are concerned.
Well, you're speaking today about the small investor. Is he visibly shaken by reports of politicians in high places being involved in scandal?
Oh, I think that's inevitably the case. We've seen it in our role as policemen of the marketplace. Happened so many times in the past, and it's unfortunate when these things occur.
Well, this is, of course, bad publicity for investing. Is there ever a time when it would be best that things like this be kept away from the public eye?
Oh, I don't think so. No, never kept away from the public. The more publicity such things as this receive, I think at least it shows two things. That men of lack of character are still operating in the marketplace, and that it behooves the investor to investigate before he invests, but also that there is an arm of the federal government that is at least trying to police the marketplace. And it does shake the confidence and of the small investor. And the theme of my talk today to this industry is going